Hello and welcome viewers. You're watching Business World. I'm Bhupendra Paintola. Today we have with us S. Swaminathan, CEO GS1 India. And in this video, we'll be talking about the supply chain standards that needs to be maintained in order to prosper for all the companies. In particular, we'll be talking about the pharma company. First of all, Mr. Swaminathan, welcome to Business World.
Thank you, Bhupendra. Thank you for inviting me. And it's wonderful to, discuss with you on that. A brief introduction to the organization. GS1, we celebrate our 50 years now. It started in the mid-70s, mid-70s, where the European Union, some of the suppliers of the European Union, the retailers, they all came together and said that they need to have a common way of identification of systems. And it started in Europe, and there were two systems earlier. One was called EAN, European Article Numbering. The other was, from the US and Canada, which was following, called the UPC, from the Uniform Code Council. In 2005, they merged together, and that's how the organization GS1, was formed. Today, we are there across 116 countries there. And India, we have completed our 26 years, in terms of, the service to our members in India. We started in India in 1996. We are very fortunate that we were set up by the Ministry of Commerce as a, not-for-profit body, co-opting members from the other trade bodies and industries like Bureau of Indian Standards, APIDA, and then trade chambers like CAI, FICCI, ASSOCHAM, FIO, as a part of the governing body on that. And three things that we basically do are related to identification. We could say that something we are Aadhaar of products, where you if you buy anything from the market today, you can find a barcode on the product, and then there is a number beneath it, so that builds a lot of significance, like your Aadhaar ID or anything. Then we also do a standardization of the barcodes that goes into the products, and then, sharing of data, so which is there. Predominantly, we work in three broad areas. In the sectors, we call it as retail has been our core focus globally. But in India, the organized retail is still very small, compared to the overall there. So a lot of our focus has gone in terms of, e-governance related to their healthcare. And we have been able to very innovatively get into new sectors where the rest of the world, has not been in terms of traditional legacy systems like is there. So healthcare is a very important area that we are working in the country for the last, I could say, 14, 15 years in terms of healthcare supply chain there. And then also the other area which we also working in terms of for the transportation and logistics, sector, like FASTag, which has been now adopted countrywide, uses our GS1 standards for interoperability, which is there. Earlier, there used to be 4 or 5 different tags which used to be there on a vehicle when a vehicle passes across from one city to the other. So every operator had their own system. Now with the introduction of a FASTag by NHAI, started in 2013, now, it's spread across the world. So FASTag uses the GS1 standards. So we have been very closely working wherever, it brings an efficiency for the businesses as well as also for the government or regulator, benefiting the general public utility at large, the consumers.
And Mr. Swaminathan, if you have to give our viewers a taste of the clients that you have in India or the companies that you cater to, what would you say on that?
Okay. If you look at, we have a very broad spectrum of companies, because it's a standards and the markets operate, you require one uniform system across. So our client base consists of small, medium, enterprises, large. In large, you have Indian multinationals, then global multinational, there, and then transnational companies are there on that. So to give you a broad, the complete range, we have customers like Hindustan Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Nestle, these are the customers. And then in case of the lowest common denominator, if you could say the cottage industry making achar, papad, agarbatti, they are also our, we call them as a subscribers or adopted of standards there. And similarly in the healthcare, quite a couple of thousands of companies who supply products in the healthcare sector, both domestically as well as also to the global market, they are our customer base. So worldwide, if you look at, there are more than, I could say around 2.5 to 3 million companies across the world adopt GS1 standards. Even though the standards is a open standard, voluntary and other thing, you can see that, it becomes the de facto standards when it's operated in a supply chain across.
So as you were talking about the pharma companies, and pharma, we have been, I think since time immemorial, we have the problem of counterfeit products. And if we compare it to other sectors, these counterfeit products in healthcare or pharma, it's far more dangerous and it's far more, harm causing. What role does GS1 plays when it comes to tackling or mitigating this sort of issues in pharma?
When we talk about the application of a standard, we always think about citizens, consumers, patients at large. So that's the big picture that we have when we try to work out across the standards part of it. One of the challenge today across the domestic market is it's a very fragmented market in the sense it all works in silos. There is no system. Everybody has got their internal ERP in place, and they have a visibility till the warehouses or the stockist level there. Much beyond, when it gets into the other last mile connectivity, there is no visibility of it. So it is very important because there is currently, if you look at the adoption of by the healthcare in the domestic market, is very, very minuscule on that. And this, especially in the healthcare, it is more of a regulatory driven, compliances which the companies adopt on that, which is there. The reason for us is also the availability of data to authenticate, whether it is genuine or a counterfeit or anything on that. That is one thing which is missing across. But, very happy to say that the government has been working on this endeavor for the last several years. And now, they have come out with almost 2 years back, they came out with the draft regulation for implementation in the domestic market. And now the last year it has come, and I think it will be effective from August 2024, where they have selected the top 300 brands. Top 300 brands will have a barcode. You can call it as a 2D barcode or a QR code. They have given the choice to the manufacturers to do that. So the objective of it is today, when if you look at, like, for example, a product of a strip or anything which is there, it becomes very extremely difficult for consumer or for a patient to authenticate this medicine because he doesn't have any mechanism in hand to do that. So if you look at, we all, including us, we buy our medicines from the people whom we trust, the chemist,
Obviously.
It's more of a there which is there. But how do you empower the patients or the consumers at large to know that whether the medicines they are procuring is a genuine or a counterfeit or a lookalike? So there are multiple levels of it, which is there. One is looking at a very cost-effective and a simple way to do it is worldwide. The barcoding, has been adopted. You can call it as a 2D code or a 2D code or QR code has been adopted on that. But unlike other sectors, if you look at the healthcare sector, has got a very, very important, because of a regulatory driven. The batch and the expiry is a very, very key important. If you if you buy any medicines today, it is mandatory that you need to have details related to the batch, related to the expiry and other details. Whereas in any other FMCG product or anything, you require just a description and a MRP or the rate in which you are buying on that. So in healthcare, this 4 components basic thing is the product identification, which is there, the batch, the date of manufacturing, and the expiry date is very much there. So what we try to do is, if you, the regulation which has asked the manufacturers, it does not mention very categorically what we need to do. It says that when you're scanning, there are some 6 or 7 attributes which you need to display, on your phone or in your in your hand phone or in your computer when you enter or scan those codes onto that. For that, every manufacturer now needs to have a data hosted in the platform, either on their own server or through third-party server, so that when when you and me buy medicines of it, to verify whether what has been printed in the medicine and what is exactly the data which is there in the system of the manufacturer, both are there or not. So you can just scan it and get it authenticated. That is one thing which is there. The second important aspect is, today, as I said, every systems are different. So there is no one system doesn't talk to the other. If the reason is everybody has their own codification, their own format of it. So it is very necessary that they adopt something at the back end of it, so that if one system has to be integrated to the other, it needs to talk, it needs to send data, it needs to receive data. Then only you will have a complete visibility of it. So these are some of the things which the challenges that we face, in terms of it. That's the reason why you don't get many times the complete visibility.
All right. So there is this seemingly trend that the barcodes are going to be replaced by the QR codes. So your company is mostly focused on barcodes. So is there any vision that you will be transforming to QR codes, and what is the difference basically when it comes to a product? What information will QR code provide which a barcode can't?
Okay, I think Bhupendra, it's a. I think I need to make it very clear, and also a lot of awareness has to be created. A barcode and a QR code are both same. Okay, when we talk about a barcode, there are 2 types of barcodes. One is a linear barcode. That means it's in one dimensional. Yeah, when you see a product, right? When you buy a consumer product, you see barcode in only. So it is there on one axis. It has got a data of it, and it's a 13-digit code which is there. But in increasingly demanding, more and more information by the consumers. Also in the healthcare, you require a lot of data to be printed. You need to have a product code, you need to have a batch, you need to have expiry or there, so that all participants in the chain could be used. So a QR code is nothing but a 2-dimensional code. Okay. So that means you have you can encode a data as an array of an image, both on x-axis and y-axis.
Okay.
So that is why it looks like a square matrix or anything which comes on, which is there.
So if you look, both the axes, will the information be more in this, or will it be on the similar lines of barcode?
It will have more information in a less space, 2D codes. Okay. So if you talk about QR code is one form of 2D code, there are another called data matrix, which GS1 uses for healthcare. It's called GS1 data matrix. So these are some things which are there. It was invented around 30-40 years back, because there are a lot of special characters, especially in the in Japanese and Chinese. We want to encode those characters, and the other best part of QR code is it's like every image scanner. If you look at all the smartphones has got a imaging capability which you will be able to read. That's why most of them then they prefer the 2D barcodes or the QR code on that, and more information can be done. It can be fastly scanned. So that is what it makes us there at a less space. And second thing, in case of if you're doing for a healthcare, you need data, a very dynamic data to be printed. That means it has to be, there are certain data which will always be fixed. There are certain variable data. That means, for example, today I'm manufacturing something. I will have a batch number, the date of manufacturing, and the expiry date. All will be a variable part. So every day it will keep changing. So in case of healthcare, it has to be, in terms of on-demand printing on the real actual surface. Whereas in a 1D code, what you can do is most of the products in the consumer, it is included as a part of an artwork.
Uh, all right. So when it comes to logistics, the biggest problems that we face is at times, as you have said, that the last mile when it comes to last mile delivery, we do lose the the tracking, or when it comes to timeliness, we're not able to complete the transaction on time. Um, Tell us that what role does GS1 plays when it comes to small companies, because they don't have the resources. They don't have the resources to deploy and to get tech intervention. So what this standardization will help with respect to those companies.
Okay. If you look at the companies, in our category of it, I could say that majority of them are small and medium enterprises. Okay, companies. So there are two things that we have done. We have very closely worked with the Ministry of MSME for the companies to promote and get actively because they are the backbones of the country to for them to implement it. We have asked them to in terms of incentivize or there for the adoption part. The second thing is related to the services of if a small and medium enterprises supplies to the to the government procurement agencies or to the health corporation. What we have done is we also, for a last mile connectivity, we run a service called advanced shipment notice information. That means, like, for example, if I'm shipping uh, 100 or 200 boxes of medicine across to the procurement agency, like for example, you take about Jan Ashudhi, which is a very flagship where you get all products at a very affordable cost. They uses our standards, where all these we run a application or a portal where they they print the barcode, and when it goes into a box, you have a logistic level barcoding. That means all the data related to the product inside is captured, and that data, before the physical product arrives the warehouse, of the Jan Ashudhi or anything on that, the data reaches them, so they can scan the code and they can take all the data related to that. So this will increase the efficiency of the inward receive movement. And similarly, when they dispatch, they can scan out and then they can put all those information related to that. See, always the challenge is the physical, your computer system inventory and the actual which goes in the physical. You need to tally both, or you need to connect both, marry both. The physical products which is lying as well as whatever is there in their system of there. So codes, the GS1 data matrix or the QR codes which are going to be there will be very, very beneficial for various reasons of your inventory. And also the other, one of the biggest challenge today is, the first expiry, first out. Typically, if you look at whatever is the medicine which you can in the warehouses, you know how difficult in terms of space in the warehouse of it is arranged. So these are the concepts that you can bring in to make sure that your pilferages as well as your product expiry and everything is reduced, so that whatever is going to expire first, you dispatch those medicines first. So these are some of the things that we are supporting the various procurement agencies as well as also the other agencies to make sure that they adopt those best practices which are followed across the rest of the world.
All right. So even the companies can calibrate what to procure and what is going to be finished and how much time will it take. So they will get an exact idea of what needs to be done. So
yeah, as I said, their internal system will have a lot of visibility to know that what is the shelf life of the medicines that they have, what is expired, what is which is there across. So this has been extensively used for you can, most of them I'm sure they will have a real-time dashboard to know that what you need to do, what is the consumption pattern, all those things could be analyzed from there. And it also is a good input for analytics purposes in your system to do that.
Okay, but when it comes to inventory management, like the optimal way of doing it, there are other several factors, like there can be fluctuating demands, and so regulatory compliance can also be a problem, especially when it comes to inter-country transportation. How do you, what solutions do you think on this ground around this area?
Okay. If you look at, India is one of the largest exporter of pharmaceutical, medicines, especially the generic, to the rest of the world. And increasingly, there are a lot of compliance requirements which are coming across from various countries. And GS1 being globally adopted, normally the regulation says what to do, there. And the GS1 facilitates the companies in saying how to do it. So what we do is we create them a lot of, awareness programs. They're telling them how to implement it. The best part is, they are all interoperable standards. Something you have done for the, this, because if you look at every country requires these attribute of data. As I mentioned earlier also, that product code, batch, expiry, and these are the data which every healthcare provider requests. So if you have done for the domestic market, or if you are doing it for one country, the same thing requests to be done for the other, part of it for them. And for exports, companies have been already doing it for the last several years. I could say 6 or 7 years they are doing it. Because they have a different type of, there the challenges are less because they all go into a small box. We call it as a secondary shipping unit, Even if it is one strip, unlike in India, it is not sold like this, It is sold in a small box. So it becomes easy for you to print barcode on, the secondary level packaging. Yeah. But in India, people have strips. Sometimes they take a piece of 2 or 3, medicines onto that and there. So these are some of the things, the challenges which are there. But now gradually, I think we are getting evolved in terms of it, which is there.
All right.